Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. In this lesson, we'll be analyzing the poem The Road by Nancy Fotheringham Cato. We'll begin with the first two lines first. I made the rising moon go back behind the shouldering hill. So the first two lines of the poem introduce the speaker and the poem's lively natural setting. The speaker's voice is strong and powerful, and they declare that they made the moon itself reverse its normal and natural course in the night sky. So, at first, this image might seem confusing. How could someone make the rising moon dip down in the sky and hide behind a hill? So, things make more sense when readers realize that the speaker is actually driving along a road. So the speaker is actually the one who was moving, and their shifting position makes it look like the moon was sinking. You can also note the enjambment between the lines 1 and 2. This emphasizes the moon's movement as one line seems to fall into the next line. I made the rising moon go back behind the shouldering hill. Okay, so there is no punctuation over here, therefore it is enjambed. The word shouldering indicates that these hills border the road on which the speaker drives. And they're just at the side, at the shoulder of the road. Okay, so the hills shouldering would suggest that the hills are actually the border on which the speaker drives. Okay, now they are bordering the road on which the speaker is driving at the moment. So at the same time, this word subtly suggests the land is similar to a body. Okay, because comparison has been made with shoulder. So already then the readers get the sense that the landscape the speaker is talking about is a living thing. It is a dynamic force, not too different from the speaker themselves. Then we're going to move on to the third and the fourth line. I raced along the eastern track till time itself stood still. So the next two lines again begin with the speaker taking strong, forceful action. The anaphora of I, which appears at the start of lines 1 and 3. It emphasizes the speaker's power and authority. I am the one doing. Have the power. I am the person who has authority. Now the speaker is the one moving. He is the one who is racing along the eastern track. So the words raced and track suggest that the speaker is in some sort of competition. So readers might wonder where the finish line for this race is, if it is a race, and who or what the speaker is racing against. So meanwhile, the adjective eastern implies that the speaker is heading towards the sun, which rises in the east. Given that the speaker previously made the moon disappear and is now barreling towards the sun, readers might guess that their competition in this race is the night itself because the speaker is running against the night, moving towards the sun. And all the things night often symbolizes in literature. So, if the person's competition is against the night, if the person is racing against night, so therefore it's not only the night but all the other things which the night would symbolize in literature, which would also have death in it, despair, fear, and the unknown. So the speaker's competition is with night, or with death, or with despair, or with fear, and the fear of the unknown itself. So the speaker drives so fast that excuse me. The speaker drives so fast and for so long that time itself stands still. The word till further suggests that the speaker drove with this specific goal in mind. That is, that stopping time was their intention. Okay, what is the speaker saying? Till time itself stood still. Okay, so what does it suggest? The word till, it suggests that the speaker is driving with a goal, with a target in his mind. And what is that target? That he has to stop the time. Okay, that's the target. Okay, that's the intention. Then you can see the enjambment in line 3 between track and till. Okay, sorry, track and till. The enjambment over here. Okay, as mentioned over here. So the enjambment of this line, it evokes the continuous speed with which the speaker is driving, just like the poem is moving swiftly and smoothly down the page. So by contrast, the firm end stop after still, this one, it mirrors the stillness itself. Okay, now because he wants to leave everything behind till the time itself would stood still, would stand still. So it is the pause over here, the end stop line over here, it is mirroring the stillness itself. Then we can note the alliteration and consonants as well. The t alliteration, okay, and the t consonant. What is it? Eastern, track, till, time, itself, stood still. This is both alliteration and consonants. So both this crisp T alliteration and consonants, they might call to the mind the ticking of a clock. With this, we're going to move ahead. The stars swarmed on behind the trees, but I sped fast. At day, I could have made the sun arise and night turn back to day. Okay, so the speaker next says that the stars swarmed on behind the trees, implicitly comparing these stars to a cluster of annoying insects. We can note how the alliteration of stars formed, S alliteration, even subtly calls to the mind the hiss and buzz of a bunch of bugs. Okay, so the speaker wants to whack those stars away, the poem implies, because they, like the moon, are associated with the night sky. So the speaker thus speeds fast at day, rushing forward down the road as if to disperse this form. Then there is repetition over here. The repetition of the word I in both I sped and I could, it again calls to attention to the speaker's feeling of control over their surroundings. The speaker boasts the extent of their power in line 7. I could have made the sun arise. That is, they could have made the sun come up, therefore transforming the looming night back into the day. So the phrase could have might also make readers wonder why the speaker did not, in fact, make the sun arise. One possibility is that the speaker only felt they had this sense of power, but they knew deep down that in reality this action was not possible. So again, the speaker is really describing the thrilling perspective granted by speeding down a country road. Depending how fast, Depending on how fast the speaker drives and in which direction, it appears as though they are controlling the moon and stars. The speaker seems aware that this is an illusion, but it is a thrilling sensation nonetheless. Lines 9 and 9 till 12. And like a long black carpet behind the wheels, the night unrolled across the countryside, but all ahead was bright. The speaker said in the first stanza that their driving made time itself stand still. Yet here readers see that that's not literally true. The night is still starting to fall. The speaker describes what this looks like through an evocative simile that compares the darkness of the night to a long black carpet opening up across the countryside. So, this carpet is right behind the wheels of the speaker's car, an ominous image that perhaps suggests the night is catching up with the speaker, and thus that the speaker must keep racing forward if they want to outrun the night. So read symbolically this if this idea, if this whatever the reader speaker is saying, if it is read symbolically, this image suggests that the speaker is swiftly moving away from despair, fear, and then their own mortality. The L alliteration and consonants of these lines evoke the smooth, fluid motion of the night as it unrolls across the landscape, like long, black fields unrolled. Note too how this image unfolds over three lines. By contrast, both of the prior stanzas were essentially split in half, the speaker devoting just two lines to each image per idea. So the expansion here perhaps evokes the night's power as it takes over the landscape, in turn adding a sense of tension and urgency to the poem. So now there is a comparison between this stanza and the previous two stanzas. Okay, so note this stanza, and first we're going to look at the previous two stanzas. The stars swarmed on behind the trees, but I sped fast at them. I could have made the sun arise and night turn back there. So there is one image over here. Each stanza is of 4 lines, and for one image, for one idea, the speaker is taking half of the stanza, and in the next half, the idea is changing. That idea is further being explained. The same is happening in this stanza. I made the rising moon go back behind the shouldering hill. I race along the eastern track till time itself stood still. Okay, so the image and idea is getting 2 lines. But if we move on to this stanza, the image has taken 3 lines. And like a long black carpet behind the wheels, the night, it hasn't ended over here, the image. The night unrolled across the countryside. Here, the image, the idea has completed. And the one last line is given to the other thing, but all ahead was bright. So these 3 lines have taken up the complete idea as compared to the previous two stanzas in which the speaker devoted only 2 lines to an image. So the description over of the night in this stanza has expanded over to the third line. So this expansion is actually, or perhaps evoking the power of the night as it is gradually taking over the landscape. And when the power of the night is being talked about, and the previous images and ideas are suggesting that the speaker is kind of running away from the night and all the things which symbolify the night, so it adds a sense of tension and a sense of urgency to the poem by looking at the power and authority of the night itself. Okay, then line 12, this one, but all ahead was bright. This juxtaposes this looming darkness against the brightness of the sun towards which the speaker drives. Okay, so but all ahead was bright. These 3 lines previously they were all night, and now ahead was bright. So there is a juxtaposition. So the speaker says that all ahead was bright. Literally, the speaker is driving in the direction of the sunrise and a new day. Symbolically, this suggests that the speaker chooses to embrace hope and optimism about the future rather than getting scared of the night and all the things which comes along with the night. I hope you have understood this. Let us move ahead. Lines 13 till 16. The fence posts whizzed along wires like days that fly too fast, and telephone poles loomed up like ears and slipped into the past. Okay, so the speaker turns their attention to the fence post. The that line the side of the road. There are fences on the side of the road, okay, and there are wires on the post over there. Okay, the fence is made up of wires on the post. Okay, so these posts which are on the side of the road, they are connected by the wires. The fence posts whizzed along wires, so they are connected by wires. As the speaker drives by, so it looks like that the posts themselves are whizzing along these wires. The posts are moving. So in reality, the posts are not moving at all. They are stuck in the ground. They are stuck at their place. It is the speaker who's moving forward. It is the speaker whose motion is forward. Okay, na? But it makes the poles appear as though they are sliding backward. Okay, so using a simile, the speaker compares the post movement to days that fly too fast. The fence post brings along wires like simile days that fly too fast. Okay, So the wire, the posts are being compared with the days. So when each post is moving backward, sliding backward, slipping away from the speaker, from the driver, it suggests it is compared with the days which are moving backwards or sliding backwards. Okay, na? So again, days themselves do not actually move, just like the posts are not the moving. It is the person who's living them who moves forward in time. The days are not moving, the person is moving, the person is doing the action. So the alliteration in the phrases whizzed on wires and fly too fast. These subtly speeds up the lines, in turn mimicking the speaker's swift movement. Next, the speaker uses another simile to compare the telephone poles that loom up on the side of the road to ears that slipped into the past. So, one way or initially the posts were moving, then the telephone poles are moving. So the word loomed implies that these poles and the ears the speaker compares them to are frightening. They are intimidating to the speaker because they are moving over them. The danger is something which looms over the head of a person. In the same way, these ears or these telephone poles are looming over the head of the speaker. So perhaps this is because each new ear means that more time has gone by and the speaker is getting closer to death. So slip meanwhile suggests that these years are difficult to hold on to. So the implication is that the speaker feels that the time is slipping through their fingers. Earlier in the poem, the speaker's speech seemed to be the secret to their power, the thing that would make time itself stand still. But here, that that same speed is emphasizing time's passage. So living, moving forward, it invariably means leaving something behind. Okay, let us move ahead. And light and movement, sky and road, and life and time were one. While through the night I rushed and sped, I drove towards the sun. Okay, so the speaker begins the final stanza with a grand declaration. क्या है grand declaration? And light and movement, sky and road and life and time were one. While through the night I rushed and sped, I drove towards the sun. So notice how many times the speaker uses the word and over here. And light, and movement, sky, and road, and life, and time were one. I rushed and sped. So the first and continues the anaphora begun in the previous two lines. Okay, what were and telephone and slip in the previous stanza. Okay, if you go to see over here, and telephone poles and slipped into it, and then it is moving on to the next stanza and light and okay. So the first and it continues the anaphora. This and okay, this and it continues the anaphora which began in the previous two lines. Okay, na? Okay, so in this stanza, where is the first hand? This is the first hand. This is continuing the anaphora, which began where? Which began over here. Okay, so it is linking the stanzas and speeding up the poem. So readers get the sense that this revelation is hitting the speaker quickly and perhaps that it overwhelms them. All those connecting conjunctions also emphasize the connections the speaker is describing between these seemingly unlike elements. So on one level, the speaker is describing the way the world seems to literally blur together when you are driving very, very fast. But this is also a broader philosophical statement about the interconnected nature of human life, time, and the universe. Looking back on the poem, readers can see an illustration of each of these pairs on the speaker's drive. Look, light and movement, they come together in the first and the second stanzas. where the speaker's direction and speed of travel seem to make the stars, moon, and sun shift in the sky. Then sky and road, they become one in the third stanza as the darkness of the night unrolls onto the land below. Then life and time, they are linked in the fourth stanza, where the speaker accepts that living involves leaving moments in the past. In the final two lines of the poem, the speaker then continues their journey. Okay, what does he say in the final two lines? While through the night I rushed and sped, I drove towards the sun. So, in the final two lines, the speaker continues their journey. Time might slip too fast into the past, but the speaker insists that that it's simply part of being alive. Okay, यानी के when you are traveling, so you are actually metaphorically traveling down the road of life. Okay, so how is he continuing his journey? When he is continuing his journey, the time is slipping fast, and the time is becoming the story of past, because the time is moving too fast, it is slipping into the past. So, therefore, the speaker insists here that it is simply the part of being alive, that the time is going to move fast and you're going to get past the time. Okay, so when you are traveling down the road, you're actually traveling down the metaphorical road of life. Yani ke when you are alive, okay, it's just like traveling down the metaphorical road of life. Okay, when you're alive, taking actions, you're making movements, you're passing time. What is happening? You're traveling down the metaphorical road of life. So the word while, it might suggest that this grand truth doesn't actually matter all that much. What matters is living in the moment, rushing in the direction of warmth and light. Okay, so time passing is not the issue, living in that time is the main thing. So note too how the speaker echoes the parallelism of the poem's opening stanza. क्या था opening stanza में? What was present in the opening stanza? I made the rising moon go by. Okay, तो इधर क्या parallel है? क्या बोला इसने आखिर के अंदर? I drove towards the sun. I rushed and sped. Okay, so we must note parallelism over here. क्या parallelism है? Returning to I phrases with I rushed and sped and I drove. So in the first two stanzas, these I statements emphasize the speaker's sense of power and agency. Now, over here, they work similarly over here. In this part of the poem, they work similarly, suggesting that the speaker accepts their place in the vast interconnected universe and focuses their journey on the main thing that's within their control. It is their perspective. They can choose to see the light. So, what is in the power of the person? The power of the man is not to stop the light, not to stop the moment, not to stop the time, but the power of the man is to decide what to choose between light and night, light and darkness, whether to be hopeless or to be hopeful. So, when a person in this dark world or universe or scenario, when he is hopeful and working or struggling towards light as in hope, so this means this is the power of the man against the power of the time. This brings us to the themes of the poem The Road. The first theme happens to be the life, death, and time. So the road illustrates the elation of speeding down, the excitement of speeding down a road towards the sunrise. Straddling the border between night and day, the speaker feels a sense of control over the heavens. It is as though in speeding as fast as the stars above, they've made time itself stand still. So the speaker seems all too aware that this thrilling power is elusive. It is only an illusion. It is not real. However, as moments continue to slip too quickly into the past as the speaker drives down this road, the life and time they become one. Neither can exist without the other. If there is no life, there is no time. If there is no time, there is no life. Therefore, the speaker ultimately implies that to live is also to move forward. So, driving down a dark road seems to grant the speaker power over the movement of the moon and stars and the sun. So, the speaker imagines making the rising moon go back behind the shouldering hill and states that they could have made the sun arise and night turn back to day. So, in controlling the skies, it appears as though speaker is making the passage of time stop. Holding back the darkness of night also suggests, on a symbolic level, that the speaker is holding back the death itself by not becoming worried or hopeless. So, in reality, the speaker is still moving forward both through the space and time as the telephone poles and the fence posts are planted in place. It looks like they're being whisked backward as the speaker drives away. And they remind the speaker of the fact that days and years continue to slip through their fingers with every passing movement. So, actually, it is not only the days and the years and the time passing by, the speaker is also moving in that. Speaker is the one who is motion. The speaker is actually moving forward, moving ahead through that space, through that time. So it is not the time alone which is moving ahead. The second theme happens to be the power of hope. The roads often symbolize life itself, while the night and darkness typically symbolize death, despair, and the unknown. So, driving away from the dark night and towards the sun can be read as an extended metaphor for the speaker's attempt to outrun their own negative emotions and perhaps even their own mortality. So, if you're going to be the most lively person, you'll be actually competing against your mortality. And you are living the time, you're living the time in the best possible manner. So, the long black carpet of the night might always be right on the speaker's heels, on the speaker's head, but the speaker's determination to drive towards the light suggests the enduring power of hope in the face of looming darkness. So, excuse me. So the poem doesn't focus on this darkness for long, however, and ends with the triumphant image of the speaker driving towards the sun. As light is often a symbol of life, hope, and joy, this closing imagery suggests the speaker has not lost their determination to live and seek joy with whatever time they have left. Okay, with this, we are going to move on to the symbols. What is the symbol? The symbol in this poem is the road itself. Road is symbolic. It represents the path of life itself, which people travel on as they go from birth to death. So life and time are one actually, in the sense that to live is to actually move forward on this road of life. So the speaker builds on this symbolism with the description of fence posts and telephone poles in stanza 4, which act as symbolic markers of time on the road. So the speaker compares these objects to days and years, the end too soon, that end too soon, conveying the sense that the speaker feels like life is passing by too quickly. The second symbol is the sunlight. So, in literature, the sun often symbolizes life, joy, and hope, and it also often acts as a guiding figure or God, which makes sense given that the sun's light is actually critical for life on the earth as well. So, the road leans into this symbolism as the speaker drives towards the sun, actually towards life, joy, hope, and so on. The next symbol is the night and darkness. So, the darkness of night is often associated with death. despair, fear, and the unknown itself. So the road juxtaposes this darkness against the brightness and warmth of the sun, towards which the speaker drives. The speaker seems to delight in being able to make the rising moon go back behind the shouldering hill and to speed as fast as the stars, suggesting that the speaker wants to keep the darkness and all of the frightening connotations which come with the night firmly in their rear view, at their back, behind them. The fact that the long black carpet of the night unrolls behind the wheels of the speaker's car, however, suggests that the speaker can never really stop moving. If they want to stay clear of the darkness, they must keep driving towards the light. यानी कि if they do not want to be hopeless, they need to be always hopeful. With this, we're going to move on to the poetic devices. We have already done simile, anaphora, alliteration, consonance, enjambment, juxtaposition, and imagery. We've already talked about it while we were actually discussing and going through the explanation of these stanzas. With this, we're going to move on to the form, meter, and rhyme scheme of the poem, The Road. Let us first talk about the form. The road consists of five quatrains, यानी कि four line stanzas. These are more specifically ballad stanzas. The quatrains rhyme either ABAB or ABCB, and they alternate between lines of tetrameter and trimeter. So ballads were traditionally narrative poems, and their predictable rhythms made them easier to remember and share. Folk narratives were also typically grand love stories, dramatic adventures, or tales of heroism. So, in using this form, Cato, who's the poet, elevates her subject. कैसे? Though the poem describes a common, even mundane, routinic, everyday experience driving down a county road or country road, this event takes on almost allegorical scope. This reflects the fact that the speaker senses in this drive fundamental truths about the nature of existence and humanity's place in the universe. Okay, so the ideas behind ballads and folk narratives were typically grand love stories and dramatic adventures and tales of heroism. Choosing these forms, it actually highlights the idea of this poet. क्या है idea? That he is comparing the journey of life as a dramatic adventure and as a tale of heroism. With this, we're going to move on to the meter. Like most ballads, the road uses something called common meter. This means that its lines alternate between 8 and 6 syllables. यानी कि क्या बोला था मैंने? Between tetrameter and trimeter. Okay, and these follow the iambic rhythm as well. In other words, they alternate between iambic tetrameter and iambic trimeter. जिसकी एग्जाम्पल यहाँ पे दे दी. आई रेस अलोंग द ईस्ट, ये क्या है? टेट्रामीटर. एंड दिस इज टेल टाइम इटसेल्फ, ये कितनी है? दो सिलेबल्स की 3 पेयर्स हैं. सो दिस इज ट्राईमीटर. So this pattern remains relatively consistent throughout the poem, lending its lines a bouncy musical rhythm. This in turn adds energy and excitement to the speaker's description of their drive. How exciting the drive is, how smooth it is, how changing. Like the road, the country road, it's high and low, but it is smooth. Rhyme scheme. The first stanza of the road rhymes ABAB. Okay, and each of the remaining stanzas of the poem uses the more conventional ballad rhyme scheme of ABCB. So the change in rhyme scheme is very subtle, and overall, the poem's consistent pattern of the rhyme makes its lines pleasant to read and easy to remember. Let us talk a bit about the speaker also. So the first person speaker over here of the poem The Road doesn't have a name, he doesn't have an age, he doesn't have a gender in the poem. Nothing has been told about him. And this helps keep the poem's message feeling universal. That is, anyone who has sped down a country road toward the sunrise can actually identify with the experience the speaker describes. He can relate, he can connect with the experience which is being shared with the speaker of this poem. At the poem's end, the speaker's determination to keep driving towards the sun and towards the new dawn signals, perhaps it signifies their determination to stay focused on the good things in life and their hopes for the future, and in a way, running away from being hopelessness, from the night, from the darkness, and all the other elements which are connected with the night. The literary contest. Nancy Fotheringham Cato was an Australian poet, novelist, and an environmental activist. She included the road in her second collection, The Dancing Bow. Published in 1957, this collection features many poems that, like The Road, muse on the nature of life, death, and time. Both The Dancing Bow and Cato's first poetry collection, which was The Darkened Window, have also been praised for their lively descriptions of the natural world, the way this poem, The Road, has been. So there is a huge connection between this poem and the overall ideology behind the poems which this writer writes. It's also worth noting that roads themselves are extremely common symbol in literature, where they typically represent the journey of life. Many poems have drawn inspiration from the roads, the most famous example being Robert Frost's The Road Not Taken. Historical context. Cato wrote and published The Road in the mid 20th century, a time when Australia was concerned with making a name for itself on the world stage. Officials felt that the nation had only narrowly avoided being invaded during World War II. Prime Minister Ben Chifley declared that Australia must populate or perish. These were the two choices for Australia. Either they'll have to populate to grow, or if they're not going to do that, they'll perish. So the development of a massive immigration program led to more than 20 million people coming to Australia through the 1940s, 50s, and 60s. The country also began to promote a distinct sense of what it meant to be Australian during this time. Cato herself played a role in this, as her work often focused on Australia's unique heritage and environment. The road perhaps suggests that humanity must accept its place within rather than apart from its surroundings. With this, we're going to end this lesson. I hope you have understood each and every aspect of it. Please feel free to ask questions if there are any. Jazakallah.